Hello and welcome back to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me to talk about this Georgia defense versus the Alabama offense when we're talking about the national championship is our host, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, man? It's the national championship tonight. I'm feeling good. I woke up just feeling a little bit more extra energy today, knowing that big game's going down tonight in Indianapolis between these two amazing SEC programs. I can't wait to talk about the O-line, the D-line, and what all these two teams are going to put up tonight.
Absolutely. And for everybody watching us live, thank you so much. And for everybody listening to our podcast, thank you again. Make sure to give us a review, to follow us, subscribe, and tell us exactly what you think about this game with Georgia versus Alabama. Did we get it right? Is there something else that you'd like to add to the conversation? Put it into the comments or leave us a review over on our podcast channels, and we will look at that and give you some feedback immediately because that's what we do. We love to listen to our fans. We love to hear what you have to say, and we love to keep it moving and with as much great information as we can bring you. So without further ado, Mr. Logan Landers, Georgia's defensive line versus Alabama's offensive line. What do we have to expect from these two teams?
Man, Georgia's got a top-notch defense. We've talked about it so many times here on the show. But let's give some credit to the D linemen, right? You got Devontae Wyatt, defensive lineman, Trayvon Walker, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. All of those guys have done really good things this year. Jordan Davis, 30 tackles, the big man up front. Everyone talks about how dominant he is, right? How good of a run stopper that young man is. And he's done a really good job this year. Also, we got, of course, Jalen Carter, who's done a good job, 34 tackles, 3 sacks for him so far this season. Trayvon Walker, 34 tackles also, but 5 sacks. And then Devontae Wyatt, 2.5 sacks on 35 tackles. So they're all looking good there. The linebacking core is also tremendous for Georgia. I mean, Nakobe Dean leads the team 68 tackles and 6 sacks. Got to watch out for him. Channing Tindall, another linebacker with 4.5 sacks, almost 60 tackles on the year. Quay Walker, Nolan Smith, dynamic duo, right? Almost got 50 tackles apiece. Each of them have a couple of sacks too. And then also give some love to the D-backs as well. I know they're not on the ticker right now for the title, but man, Darren Kendrick, Dan Jackson, they've got to have Lewis Cine, of course. They've got to have some great nights tonight, breakout days, and see what they can do to get them a national championship. But I think the defensive line overall for Georgia, right, there's a reason that they're billed as top notch. That everyone goes to them when you look at some of the most amazing defenses in college football. In history, obviously. And, I mean, there's a reason for it. This team is absolutely electric. They stuff the run. They get to the quarterback. They get all the pressure you need. And that's why they've been so dominant this year. They mix it up well. You know, they get when they rush when they need to. They lay back when they want to. And it all just seems to work out with the big guys up front with the defensive line, because that's where it all starts. Got to create those gaps for the linebackers to come through, right? So they look good. I like the defensive line for Georgia tonight. Offensive line for Alabama, a little bit banged up, though. There was some guys that were out. Emil Okor Jr. Left during the first quarter of the Cotton Bowl last week in Cincinnati. And also Chris Owens got out in the fourth quarter with an undisclosed injury. Now, Nick Saban hasn't directly said that both those guys are going to be playing tonight, but he has said that they have been practicing, which is a hopeful sign you are going to get both those two guys back. You're starting right guard, and also you're starting right tackle there for the offensive line. But the offensive line for Alabama, they've been shaky this year, to say the least. Right, Bryce Young has been sacked 35 times, so pretty high number. And against a stout Georgia defensive line, you got to wonder, I will say, though, in the biggest game of the SEC championship, though, they did not allow a sack against Georgia. So, to me, that proves that even though they haven't had the most dominating year as an offensive line, that when the moments was the brightest, right, that was a do-or-die game. If they won, they were in. If they lost, they weren't going to make the college football playoff, let alone the national championship. So, they came to play that night, and I think they're going to try and get things going again tonight. I could see them maybe giving up one sack, right? Just nerves, right? Maybe in the first quarter. But I don't see a completely dominating performance from the Georgia D-line. I think they're going to create pressures, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of sacks just tonight. That's just how I see things go. And I think the O-line is going to step up one more time for Alabama and help their quarterback out in a tremendous way. And of course, the quarterback for Alabama, right? A young man who people may not have heard of, just a little Heisman winner by the name of Bryce Young, thrown for 4,503 yards this season, a 67% completion percentage, 9.2 average per pass, 46 touchdowns, only five interceptions on the year. Like I mentioned, the 35 sacks. And my goodness, this young man has been dynamite. Ever since he played a little bit last year, but this was his coming out party, right? In 2021, his first kind of full season. He has done things in college football history we're going to look back on and just see how dominant that he was. And I mean, rightfully so. He's done a lot of good things for the Alabama program. And against Georgia, man, he did a tremendous number on them. 26 of 44 passing, 421 yards, 59% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then against the Cincinnati Bearcats that got him here, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 17 to 28 passing for only 181 yards. But that was a rushing attack they used with Brian Robinson to really get that going. So I don't think that Bryce is going to be throwing for over 400 yards again. I just don't see it. I think Georgia's a lot more well prepared this time. I can see him going for 300. Obviously, that sounds more attainable. But he might have a pick in there. He might have an interception. That could be kind of what undoes Alabama late in the game. You never know. But you've got a stout defensive line, kind of a shakier offensive line, who proved when the moment's brightest they look good, at least last time. We'll see if they can carry it over to this game. And an electric quarterback who is still going to be in college for a little bit longer, right? But you just got to appreciate him while he's here with Coach Saban and company. So I think that I would have to give the slight advantage to the Georgia defensive line. I think they're going to get to Bryce Young. Like I said, I don't think they're going to get a whole lot of sacks. Maybe get 1, maybe 2. But I think they're going to create a lot of pressure. And we're going to have to see what Bryce Young can do when he scrambles. Normally, he looks great, but you never know. It's the national championship, nerves a little bit up there. A lot of people watching, a lot of cameras flickering. You never know, man. Sometimes it can get to a guy, but we'll see. But I'm going to give the slight edge in this one to the Georgia defensive line just because they've been more dominant the entire season. Like I said, I need to see a little bit more of the Alabama O-line more consistently. In one game against Georgia, they look dynamite, but can they carry it over one more time and lead their team to victory? We'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, this is one we've been waiting for quite a while. One we've been waiting to see this final rematch to see who is going to close it all out. So the narrative comes down to whether Georgia has been as awesome as they've seen this entire season, dominant, number 1 position for most of the season, or Alabama, who somehow can try to also be the most historic, storied team in college football and somehow an underdog in a certain way. Like, I don't.
In a way.
Yeah. So you've got both.
Sports are weird, man. Sports are weird.
Yeah, it's the strangest, coalition of forces in this. But yeah, we're very excited to see where this does go. That Alabama offense, you know it, you love it or you fear it. That Georgia defense, we've got to keep our offense strong. We're broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia, so we love our Georgia defense. We want to see them go strong enough to get the offense a chance to breathe before having to get back on the field over and over again. And so, yeah, we're excited to see where this goes. And if everybody watching will please put in the comments, what do you think will happen? Will the Georgia defense stand up? Will the Alabama offense just mow down everything in its path? We want to hear from you to hear what you think. And if you're watching us live, thank you so, so much. But if you're listening over on our podcast, thank you again. But if you're not, come and join us. We are 100 Yards of Football over on the podcast networks, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, the Believe Podcast Network itself. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, come and listen to ours over at 100 Yards of Football. And make sure to drop us a review over on Apple Podcasts. All those reviews help us to get higher and higher in the rankings and help more people to find our awesome show. And if you love us, then stick with us because we're going to have incredible coverage coming up very soon about all the recruits coming up. We're going to continue with these amazing recruiting class videos, and we're going to get you primed and ready for the next section of football as we see who's going to rise from the cream of the crop to the top and be those next athletes that will not only keep us in our seats throughout the college football season, but coming into the end of each of their seasons and each of their careers as a college football player, we will help you to understand who's going to make it to the next level and go on to be in the NFL. So thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Georgia defense versus the Alabama offense with our host, Mr. Logan Landers. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and we'll be right back with another live episode.